Well, hello, my name is Tyler Ahrens,
And I'm Ethan Lundholm.
and we'd like to welcome you to Finding Paradise. Kind of a long time coming, a project that we've both been really wanting to get off the ground and finally getting this podcast started. So we're going to tell a little bit of our life stories and
Our own therapeutic reasons and hopefully yours too.
yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it. Again, we're just going to talk. It's just going to be a couple of guys, some friends here with microphones, sitting in a basement, supporting each other and supporting other people. Hopefully it does something for you as well.
Yeah, the first few episodes will be our stories, because we owe you that. Even though there might be cringy parts.
Right.
But that's fine.
Yeah, we're not really going to hold back. No, we're really having a blast with this thing, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as well.
Yep.
So, I guess with that, welcome to Finding Paradise, guys.
Yeah, help us find it. My name is Ethan Lundholm. I was a witness, born and raised, and then I got this fellowship probably about 6 years ago. Yeah, I'd say about 6 years ago.
Something like that.
Deep roots, very deep roots on both sides of the family. Let's see, my mom's parents moved here from Norway. So what's that, third generation? And when they came here, they found the truth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think you're the second. Yeah, no, her grandparents came.
It was my mom's grandparents came over.
Yeah, so you're third generation born in.
on that side.
But I think I want to say fourth on the other.
Am I fourth?
I think on that side it's fourth.
Because I don't...
We might not have closed the gap for our listeners here. Ethan and I are related.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, he's...
Tyler is married to my second cousin.
Yeah.
Yep, my father's cousin.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the Lundholm side, I think it might be fourth generation. At least third, maybe fourth.
Yeah. And is there a couple anointed, in the generation just older than us? I want to say, not Nathan, but I want to say, wasn't there some? Maybe not? No?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
No, Nathan. You'd think Nathan would think he's anointed, yes.
Seems like that
Definitely
kind of guy.
has the characteristics of someone who believes they're part of the anointed. But no, he was the CEO. I know that. So, but yeah, Lundholm side deep, Williams side deep. Although the Williams were much more casual, definitely. The mom's side is Mom would tell me when I was young. We'd have conversations because I was just kind of I'm not going to say I never completely bought in, but I definitely had a hard time buying in.
It's kind of like me. Well, I mean, and even your uncles. Conversations and things that I've had with your uncles. It's
Yeah. And I was never a kid that was like, oh, I'm going to go to Bethel. I'm going to pioneer. I'm going to do... I didn't care. It didn't... I don't know. We'll get into it more, but it didn't really click like you were talking about last night. Nothing really clicked. And I would tell that to my mom, and my mom was very open and very kind. And she would just say, yeah, I know. You're kind of like my family. You're not... She's like, I never am going to expect you to go to Bethel or be a CO or anything like that, So there's definitely more pressure from the Lundholm side. For sure.
I can attest to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But, no, I don't know. I was just kind of... Growing up, I started seeing some things right away. The beards bothered me. I mean, the beards bothered me before I could grow pant beards.
Right.
Before I was like...
Before I could grow facial hair.
Before I had even puberty, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Because, I mean, who are you to tell somebody that they can't have... I mean, if a man has a nice beard, or woman, let them grow it. What does it matter? I mean... But anyways, that, tattoos, and then just some of the other stuff just never really added up, I guess. And I'll remember that as I talk, but... I definitely tried. When it's all that you know and most of your family is indoctrinated heavily, I mean, you have to kind of follow suit because there's not really much out there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of gray area.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, for lack of shape up or ship out kind of mentality.
But I was always drawn, even as a child, I was always drawn to the darker aspect of things. I was always questioning, well, like, why did Satan? Like, well, didn't God create him perfect and all that stuff? So why is he? But you can't, play devil's advocate to the fucking devil.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, things like that, just, I was curious. I've definitely asked a lot of questions. Probably too many at some points.
Well, but that just shows that you're naturally thinking about stuff. You want to understand things. You're not someone that just, oh, yeah, okay, and just, sucks it up and just buys whatever you're told.
Yeah, no, I need a reason. I mean, I was definitely one of those kids whose mom and dad tell you, don't do this. You say, why? And they don't give you a good reason, then you backtalk and you get spankings, but that's fine, I'm sure they had their reasons. My parents, I do love my parents. They were very good parents. As far as parents go, cults aside, they genuinely loved me, they genuinely cared for me, and I believe they still do. And
I would agree. Yeah. Obviously, I've known your parents for years as well. They are great people, really.
Very nice people. I don't really hold anything against them at all. I did for a little bit there, But as time goes on, you kind of start to feel sorry, a little empathetic, pity.
That's kind of where I've actually gotten, like, I have no animosity towards anyone. I almost think like the scriptures, skinned like sheep without a shepherd.
Pretty much.
It's kind of like that, really.
Yeah. So maybe we should start a little more linear, though. So, when I was born, 1990, born and raised, as far as I can remember, all my friends were witnesses. I have one sibling, my sister. She was born in 1995. And then, my life was basically just witnesses. That's all I ever knew. I was homeschooled. I did go to school for a little bit in like 4th grade because I sucked at math. And my mom wasn't good either. So she's like, I'm not going to act like I can teach you.
I need some help.
Yeah. So the school's a couple blocks away. Just go there. That was my first little bit of outside exposure. Yeah.
Sure.
Unwatched exposure from my parents. That was interesting. I definitely learned a lot. Things I still carry with me today. Those kids probably don't remember me at all, But I remember them. I remember some of the stuff that I learned. And I guess I should say, though, I did have neighbor friends growing up.
Right.
So, like, I did have friends that weren't witnesses, but I didn't spend hours on end, like, in school with them. I mean, I'm still friends with him today. Maybe he doesn't mind if I say his name, but Mitchell. I'll just say Mitchell.
Yeah.
We've been friends for a long time. He watched me go through all this stuff from just the outsider perspective. So sometime it would be fun to talk to him just to see, man, how weird was I?
Right. Was I
Fill
that
me in
awkward?
a little bit. Yeah, all right. So, 4th grade, went to school, then homeschooled after that, up until 7th grade. 7th grade, went to a charter school that had, the whole school, it was very new and had maybe 150 kids when I first started going.
Okay. Across all grade levels?
Across all grade. Yes, the whole entire school.
K-12.
No. It was 7th through 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Still,
little less
that is
grades,
not a big school.
Tiny.
My
each graduate.
graduating class was just a little bit smaller than that entire school.
Yeah. Had I graduated, I think I would have graduated with like 8, 9 people.
That sounds like some schools around where I grew up, though.
Yeah. It wasn't a terrible school. It was decent people, and there's people, again, still that I talk to that I met there. But the shitty part was, my best friend, who was also a witness, this is not shitty though, because I did enjoy the time I spent with him, and I still miss him too, but he went to the same school. That's how we learned about it. And then I think there was at least 4 or 5 other witnesses going to that school. So you can imagine in a school
that's a pretty high percentage of witnesses.
You're not really going to get away with anything.
Yeah.
And I was never really a sneaky kid. I I don't know. I like being
Just,
honest.
yeah, never
Like,
really
don't get me
felt the
wrong.
need to put on a show.
Yeah. But I mean, I did sneak stuff. I definitely did some stuff that, had my parents known, would have been an issue. But nothing by any worldly person's standards, like out of line.
Right, right. Normal shenanigans that kids
Just
get up to,
little
but...
stuff. Holding hands.
Oh.
Don't do it. Didn't even put a glove on or anything.
That's, you ever watch that movie, Walk Hard? He sings the
Dewey
song,
Cox story.
Singing that song, Hold My Hand. The devil has hands and he uses them for holding.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean, you know what they say, idle hands spend time at the genitals, and we all know how God hates that.
yeah. He's not a fan of
It'll be
that.
in someone else's hand. Anyways, so, yeah, high school was a little weird. Not only was my best friend there, and when I say best friend, I mean, like, since I was born, day one. Like, he's my brother to this day, But not only was he in the school, we were actually desk mates for a few years.
Okay.
And I remember this one time, there's this pretty cute girl, and she sent her friends over to ask me out. And I was like, oh, yeah, Jola. Her name was Jola. J-O-L-A. Oh. And they asked me right in front of my friend.
Sure.
And I just, looked at him, and he's staring at me. Just, what are you going to do, Ethan? What are you going to do?
Right.
I'm like, I can't, Yep. And they're like, well, why not? Do you not like her? I'm like, no, I absolutely do. She's cute. She's very nice. Well, then why? And it's like one of those first times when you're like, because of my religion. I said exactly what they told us not to say.
Right.
It's because of my religion.
Yep. I did the exact same thing. Yeah. That's how I got through high school as well.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that instance was pretty brutal. And I give credit to the kids now. Those kids that were, the outsiders. Man. Because I was still friends with them. Even though it was so weird. They still were like, yeah, it's alright.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I would hope that I would do the same thing. I would hope that I would act just like they did.
Sure.
Especially for the age. But, yeah. No, I said no. And they finally were like, okay. And then the first thing Ross said to me my friend said to me after was, I'm so proud of you, Ethan. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, I just wanted to smoke him, dude.
Right.
Right in the face. But he goes, but he's just like, I'm so proud of you. You did the right thing. You did the right thing. I'm like, well, I only did that because you were watching me.
Right.
Seriously,
we'd be making out behind the bleachers right now if you weren't here.
I know it. We didn't have bleachers. 150 kids, man.
You'd have found somewhere.
Yeah, I would have found somewhere.
Yeah.
Having a normal childhood. But I mean, that's pretty much how high school went. It was a lot of that kind of stuff. Anything I did that was a little out of line, I had to hide. And then I felt guilty about it, I did get kicked out of school a couple times for very minor things, but with those minor things, I remember one time, it was the first time I got kicked out of school, the teacher said, don't throw this thing again, And then all the kids threw it, and then as soon as I picked it up to throw it, then the teacher walks in. I get caught. Explain the story to my parents. My parents, being as cool as they were, for the circumstances, didn't care. But the second time, it was like this school prank for April Fool's Day. And a couple of my buddies were like, hey, so we're going to go on the intercom. And as soon as you hear us say now, it's going to be during reading time, we're going to say now. And whoever's in on it, stand up and just walk out. Like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Right. It was the day before, or whatever, they were telling me that they were going to do this. So I actually asked my dad, based on the way he reacted the first time, something weird happened, but it was just silly.
Right.
So I asked him, I was like, hey, Dad, what do you think about it? Like, if I just do this
Skip
prank.
school.
And yeah, it wasn't even skipping school. We
Walk
were
out.
going to walk back in.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like we were all leaving or anything like that.
Gotcha.
We just went outside. I'm thinking back on it, it's not a very good prank. It's pretty stupid. We could have done way better. But I kind of told it to him, and I was like, you know, here's what they're thinking. And he's like, well, you know, you're on your own. You know, you can make your own decisions type thing. And I said, okay, cool. He's like, I would advise you not to, but didn't say anything about the consequences. There wasn't going to be any consequences. Like, he's just like, well, probably don't, but whatever. So I did it. And, like, one of the first that he took my guitar away and told me he was going to sell it.
Nice.
He took my TV and my PlayStation out of my room, which is very privileged anyways, so, alright, whatever.
Fair enough.
But the one that got me was, and he had used this other times too, but I'm going to have to step down. I'll take a step back here. My father was an elder.
Sure.
Pretty much since I can remember, my dad was an elder. I know some kids had the privilege of having a dad that really could balance both roles well. I'm not going to say mine could. I will not say mine could.
Sure. And I can see that too. Like,
he was an elder. He was
sure.
an elder first, by far.
Yep.
So your kid does something silly, like what I just described, and you hit him with, well, because of you, at 14 years old, 15 years old, whatever it was, I'm going to have to change my entire life, and I'm going to have to step down as an elder. Which to me, at that point, I mean, elders are kind of like your heroes in a way. So that's a big thing. That's a heavy thing to put on your child. Because you did something that I didn't necessarily tell you not to do, I'm going to have to drastically change my life.
Yeah,
that's intense.
That's a lot to put on a kid.
That's a heavy...
Yeah.
I was just like, good Lord. And I remember like almost like welling up in tears talking to my mom. Like, is he serious? Like, did I just fuck up his chances of staying an elder? And she's like, no. Again, the cool mom.
The reasonable one.
I swear to God, dude, my mom would have been a hippie if she wasn't. She's yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so he didn't have to step down.
Of course he did.
And I think that's where the guilt stuff played in. I know that's a pretty, like, that kind of casts over a lot of the witnesses and possibly a lot of cults. I mean, just the guilting aspect is just kind of ingrained in you. Especially because, I mean, since my parents were born into it also, they had that guilt aspect. Yeah, I mean, it was similar to, like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. But then, after that, they continue to twist and just push and poke. Say little things here and there, like, yeah.
It's the whole model, it's the FOG model, fear, obligation, guilt. Those are,
God, you just got these models down.
I know, I guess, man.
Time in Italy.
It's my thing, I guess. I mean, because you have the bite model, which is admittedly we hope to actually address a lot of aspects of the bite model through this podcast. And we specifically actually want to look at that, but we want to look at it from how it impacts somebody's stories. And for those that aren't very familiar, a quick rundown of the bite model: behavior, information, thought, and emotion. Those four aspects, if you can control those, you are exerting undue influence on a person, and it is essentially an abusive, manipulative relationship.
Yeah.
So.
And then, I mean, yeah, once you have that under control, I mean, that doesn't just stop at when you're talking about religion, or, you know, if we were talking about Jehovah's Witnesses stuff, like, say, getting baptized. Yeah, they're going to guilt you into getting baptized, but it doesn't stop there. It was just a tactic that's ingrained into your everyday life. You know?
Never. I mean, you're never quite good enough.
Yeah, even thinking back on it, like, just that school situation, it was like, well, you know, I'm not going to tell you not to, but, like, well, maybe you should just tell me what's going to happen. Just tell me what's going to happen if I do that. Actually, what happened is they locked us out of the school. We all locked out. I forgot about that. They locked us out and then called all our parents and wrote us all up. Yep. That's how I got sent home.
There you go.
But, yeah. Anyways.
You thought you were just going to walk back into class.
Yeah, that's what we tried.
Yeah.
A couple kids got back in before they realized what was going on. But, anyways. Yeah, it was just like, why don't you just tell me what... Be upfront with me instead of giving
Let
me
me know,
wishy-washy
be assertive
guilty
at least.
bullshit. Yes, yeah. So, anyways. We did that. So then, I don't know, I mean, I did text girls and stuff like that. And I did some stuff that I didn't let my parents know about. But again, I didn't really try to hide much.
Well, and again,
from
that's
them.
normal behavior.
Yeah, I just didn't care to. My mom was so nice, and I was such a dick to her, that I felt like even though I was still a dick to her, I always felt like I owed her that, to be honest with her. And I still do. So I kept on going to school, wasn't good at it. Very left-minded, if that's terminology.
Sure.
Artsy,
You like to think more creative.
Artsy-fartsy, like, I'm not going to sit there. And so I just didn't do good, and I'm going to be honest, the whole no college thing was a little bit of a relief to me. Because I didn't want to go. Sure. I hated school, man. I have a little bit of a different mindset now.
Right. You can see the value at least.
Yes, yeah. So
whether it's for you or not, you can at least see the value.
Yeah. But I did definitely use that to my advantage. When the teachers would be like, well, aren't you planning on going to college? Don't you have anything figured? No, I'm a witness.
Yeah, my religion won't let me.
Get back off, dude. Yeah. So I definitely used that, and whatever. Maybe I would have enjoyed that regardless.
Yeah. Well, that's, my brother, the one that's disfellowshipped that I do speak with yet. He told me, he's kind of same deal. He probably never would have gone to college, and he never did. But he said, he, looking back, would have at least liked to have the option.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, say I wasn't very good at school and I didn't have the school mindset, but had I seen my peers, my close peers, like the ones that I was allowed to hang out with, advance and go on to college, maybe I would have gotten that competitive spirit and been like, and saw the value earlier.
Sure. Right.
But you don't. So, I just kind of went on and pissed my way through school, and about 17, I met let me back up. I should tell my baptism story first.
Yeah, when were you baptized?
Yeah, so I was baptized at 15. Decently young, but way young. I mean, you were way younger than that.
Sure.
But I got baptized I had two best friends, and I got baptized with the other one, who I'm still extremely close with today. We talk a lot. And he's still a witness, but don't tell anybody.
Don't tell his wife.
Yeah. But I got baptized when I was 15. I had a couple discussions with my dad before that. I didn't want to get baptized. I did not want to get baptized. It didn't seem right. It didn't sit well. Anytime I thought about it, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and you're like, it's just not.
It doesn't.
Me. It's not.
It's not a natural thing to do.
But everyone else treated it so natural.
Right.
Like it was just a normal thing. So I'm like, why am I so weird?
That was. Yep.
Like,
that was my thing too.
Yeah.
It's always going to make sense. All right, fine.
Yeah, you just kind of go with the flow, I guess. And when you're a person that already goes with the flow naturally, which I found out later, I definitely am. That's dangerous, man. Like. Yeah, I my entire life is now shaped around me just going with the flow.
Sure. Yeah, it's weird how that works out.
But I mean, even at that time, the reason we have this podcast is because I was just like, well, whatever, I guess. I have to. So it made it a lot easier that my best friend was going to do it with me. But I remember telling my dad, like, Dad, what if I just don't want to? What if I don't want to get baptized? I remember the drive home. It was just me and him. Mom and Olivia were sick. We were driving home, and we were passing Hardee's on Highway 7. I'm like, Dad, what if I don't want to get baptized? And he was pretty honest with me. I mean, he just said, well, I mean, that's up to you. And I was probably 13, 14 years old at the time. He said, that's up to you. You don't have to. But your mother and I would be disappointed if, we'd be upset if you didn't. That's all he had to say.
Yep.
That's all he had to say. I love my parents. So obviously I don't want to disappoint them on such an extreme level.
Yeah, because that's the worst disappointment that you can be.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I'm not extremely competitive, but genetically there's a lot of competitive spirit there. And my friggin' cousin got baptized at 13.
Ooh.
Oh. And she was even a year older than me. So, let's see, what's that, she got baptized 13, I'd have been 12, so up until 15, she just rubbed it in, make the wound bigger, and then rub more in. So I'm like, yeah, I gotta get this out of the way. So, got baptized.
That's the one that's now married. They live in California or something now, right?
I have no idea, dude. They live in California.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, coincidentally, so there's like an Etsy store where, I don't know, there's a shop where they sell like JW pins and things like that. They run that, like it's actually a big business that they do now, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they're still in, but I mean, I think they turn a pretty decent, I think they do all right.
Huh. I mean, good for them.
Right.
Whatever.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think he's a substitute circuit overseer now.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would shoot high.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they
She's
are
definitely,
very, very
Let's put it this way. If was in politics, she'd be very successful.
She'd be that, what was that scandal? Kerry Washington. Yeah, you don't watch TV. I don't really either.
No.
We'll let that out.
Nor do I follow politics.
Right.
The one trait I took with me from the Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't get involved in politics, man. I can't. I get too mad. I do see a little bit of a benefit from... I mean, I shouldn't say that, because if everyone was like me, this would be a shit show, but...
Right.
Not that it isn't right now anyways,
Right.
but it'd probably be a lot worse. So,
I agree.
to those people that have it figured out, more power to you.
Yeah.
I do not.
I've
not.
become more political lately. I've just, even over the last couple of months, I'm fairly, I'm not super invested, but I'm interested. Whereas I was never really interested even before. Now I actually do want to know more things.
I guess to that point, I have to agree. This last year has definitely made me a little more, like, I'm actually thinking about getting involved after all this stuff, but that's a whole different topic.
Right. Yep.
Whole different topic.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, so I got baptized at 13. So the fact that I waited as long as I did was a little brutal, but whatever. I got baptized 15 years old, and then I remember right after, I think I kind of realized I fucked up. But I mean, and when I say right after, I mean I was still wet. Yeah. Like I had put my suit back. I went back into that weird room.
It just didn't feel right.
I put my suit back on, and people I didn't even know were coming up to me, and they were going...
Yeah, because your hair's wet, probably.
Yeah, and they're coming up to me, and like, what should seem, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, I guess, as loving, they were saying the weirdest shit, man. They were saying, "Oh, do you feel the Holy Spirit upon you?" And the look in their eyes, which I figured out now within the last couple weeks, is that culty glaze, apparently, that we all had.
It's just weird.
That I was unaware of, but I remember their eyes were so weird. Every one of them, and it was dozens. Do you feel the Holy Spirit upon you? Do you feel different? Do you feel different? And I would look at my mom, and I'd be like, no.
Like,
and they would
why am I supposed to feel
what?
different? I just took a swim.
Yeah, I feel the exact same.
I just had a little
am I
bath.
Supposed to feel different? Did I screw up somehow, or did my foot pop up?
Yeah, did I not actually get the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
Did I mess this up too?
Yeah, right? Exactly. But anyways, yeah, I kind of knew, I think subconsciously, I messed up. And I just ignored it and went on with my daily business, I only pioneered, I think when I was 16. I only auxiliary pioneered for like a month. And I hated it, dude. What I did notice was these auxiliary pioneers were, you get your, what was it, 30 hours in a month at that time? 30,
well, I think it's
hours.
50, but I'm guessing you probably got in on one of the, like on special occasion months when the CO comes.
Oh, it was like for
30 months.
I think it was a memorial track.
Special campaign stuff.
Yeah, it was a special campaign month. Yes.
Now they have now they don't even have hour requirements for pioneers.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
they completely removed that now. And amazingly enough, now that they removed the hour requirements, they're getting more applications for pioneers.
Oh, weird. Can I apply?
We should.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you pioneered once.
Yeah, I pioneered once, and then I started seeing like just subtle things. Like it's like, well, like people that had been pioneers I was going out with, for a while, and they'd be like, well, let's just go eat. Or something like that. It was just kind of like a passive, like,
There's an elder in our hall. Everyone jokes about they want to go out in service with him because you're not taking any doors. You're gonna take one door, and then he's got to make a couple stops. He's got to drop off a check for this and that. He's got to stop by the bank. We just got to drive through the bank real quick, and then you're gonna go sit at somewhere and have a break for an hour and a half. So,
which is fine for the standard witness. I mean, you're going out on a Saturday. You got a busy life. You got a couple things you got to take care of, but at least you're trying to put forth some effort, I guess, to get out in the ministry and save all those people. But when I started seeing it with pioneers, people that had dedicated so much time, where they're just kind of taking advantage of the system to a certain extent, I started to have a little bit of a shift. You started to see the hypocrisy, even more so than when I was talking about the beards and the tattoos, and just kind of like, I started getting a little more brazen at that point. I'm sure the testosterone of being a teen didn't help, but I was kind of like, this isn't right. It's just weird. So I never did it again. I hated it, and it was hypocritical.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you reduce, something that's important as that, like, going out in the ministry to a slip of paper that you turn in at the end of the month?
We put it on such a high pedestal that to see the people that are excelling in that avenue of the religion take advantage of it and be like, meh, was, kind of jaw-dropping.
Well, kind of like
it was very unexpected.
You value honesty. Even if it wasn't what necessarily somebody wanted to hear, you would rather be honest with your mom. You'd rather see these people be honest with this situation.
So like these individuals have a status in the congregation, and people view them as a certain way, and then to see them be like, no, it's not really that way. Like, okay, then what else really isn't that way? Like I said, I had always had a drawing to metal. I shouldn't say metal, but the things that you weren't supposed to listen to. I liked all aspects of music. I liked rap, to a certain extent at the time, and I liked metal. I liked rock. I liked everything. But you're not supposed to like those things. So the ones after, I'd say about after 15, 16-ish, it started just kind of getting into it. Doing, like, listening more, allowing myself to open up a little.
I remember that shift when you start, like,
listening to the things I shouldn't listen. Quotes. Shouldn't listen to. Tool. Oh my god. Oh. 10,000 Days had just come out.
Ooh.
And that album, dude. Anyways. Yeah, so where am I at? 16 years old. Hypocritical. Pioneers.
Start listening to metal.
Good band name, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kept on with my day-to-day school stuff, and within, let's see, I hadn't gotten my license yet. This was a real quick and funny story. Baptized at 15, and I'm 16 now, going out in service and stuff, and I still don't have my driver's license. Not that I was incapable, I was not allowed. And I was not allowed to get my driver's license because, to quote my mother, you were too immature. So I'm too immature, just a fucking jackass, to get my driver's license.
But you're mature enough to dedicate your life.
But at this point, I'm already a year into dedicating my entire life to something I do not understand.
Right. Yeah.
You know? And it's just like
It's exactly what, the things that started to wake me up when it started, applying that same line of reasoning towards my children.
Yeah.
It was the same type of thing. I couldn't explain it to them, so why could I push it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could I do that?
Yeah. So then I had to sit there as a 16-year-old in driver's ed with all these kids that are 15. Like, and some of the kids are from my school. They're like, "Why are you here now?" Like, "Oh, well, I'll explain it to you."
Right.
It's embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing. But, so yeah, I got my license at 17, and then I really started branching out. Like, I started going to different congregations, meeting new people, and we did a little drinking and stuff. That was probably the start of the downhill slide, I'd say. When I started, I don't think I really understood what I was realizing yet. The things were there, but I didn't have them all comprehended. Either that or I was just like putting them, it was like, I don't even want to think about that because I can't even do anything about it. So I'm just going to dive in. And I'm going to start branching out and making a lot of witness friends. Or as many as I could. And I made a decent amount with what I was given. So I would party in the cities. Well, I would J-Dub party in the cities.
Right.
not party, but, you have a couple drinks or whatever.
Right.
And I'd go down south and actually turned me on to a few friends that I still talk to up in the cities that I've really actually partied with.
Right.
But I guess so. I would go with my dad because he would give a lot of talks to the surrounding congregations. He's a very, very well spoke individual. Like, definitely gives a lot of good talks and added a lot of flavor.
He's a good speaker.
One of the greatest watchtower conductors, man, that I've ever known.
Yeah, actually,
by
yes.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could nail that.
It was hard after I got this fellowship going back with, especially like going with Pan, my girlfriend, and he would be giving the watchtower. You'd be conducting the watchtower. It was fun, but it was still awkward, But at least even Pan could recognize it. He's good at this.
Sure.
He's good at being a speaker, So he would give a lot of talks, and one time I went down with him with a friend of mine. Me, him, and a friend of mine went down to St. James. And I met a girl. And I was almost 18. But we just hit it off. And thinking back on it now, I don't know if we really hit it off. But we were definitely physically attracted to each other. And it, kind of just got me even going more that I knew a lot of people were attracted to her. A lot of my friends.
She was cute, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was what it was.
Your ex-wife's hot, dude.
She was hot.
Yeah, she was.
Hot. I've seen her.
I have not seen her in a while.
Let's just say I won that one.
That's awesome.
Anyways. So, we started talking. I got my license, so we're driving. I'm driving back and forth. I think she had her license at that time, too, because as crazy as her parents were, they still allowed her to get her driver's license at a normal time, so we were on the same level.
Yeah, I was actually friends with her older sister.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, me too.
God. Holy shit. I'll say some stuff about my ex, but her sister was a nutcase.
She is
to this day
nuts.
Still probably
She's
one of
very
the
crazy.
Craziest people I've met.
Yeah.
I'll take you on too. If
right.
You want.
Yeah, and not to say crazy as in like mentally ill. Like she's just, which she may be. I don't know. I'm not
vindictive.
Yes, she
narcissistic.
Is not a great person.
No. Anyways, yeah. So we started. This was during the days of MSN Messenger. I had my own room in the basement of my parents' place. So I could get away with pretty much anything. And her and I did pretty much everything.
Yeah.
We dated for a long time, and well, I shouldn't say a long time, but I mean, we dated for a good year and a half.
Which, in witness age,
pretty long.
Right.
That's
like 7 years in regular time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, we dated for a while, and got away with a lot of stuff, and we were just kind of not honest, and no one caught on, and it was just, and then I started realizing that everyone was doing that. Literally everyone. So everything started to get even a little more transparent for me at that time. It's just, I'm still mentally in.
Yeah.
But it's starting to crack. The foundations are starting to crack. Me and so are doing stuff, and everyone else is doing the same stuff, and possibly even more. But so then we decided to get engaged, and just another testament to how cool my mom is. I remember asking her, like, what do you think about this whole situation? Because I mean, to get engaged and married by 18, 19 years old as a witness is not uncommon. It's actually extremely common. And even my mom was like, I wish you were older.
A little bit wiser.
See, throughout, I'm just going to focus on Mom for just 2 seconds here, but throughout my entire childhood, it's just, she was not a witness. Like, you could see it. Which
she
made
just
it
never
so
really pushed it. It was just kind of
frustrating.
along for the ride.
Yes, but she knew nothing else, man. Like, in her entire life was enveloped in this religion. And God bless my mom, even though I don't believe in him. She just doesn't have the balls to stand up. I mean, metaphorically. Clearly she doesn't have balls. Right. Metaphorically, she did not have the balls to stand up to anybody and tell people what she honestly thought. Because if she did that, that woman would be unstoppable.
Yeah, I would agree.
But, so I just remember talking to her about that, and she goes, I wish you were older. And I said, oh, well, I didn't say this, but in my head I was like, yeah, but I want to bang.
Right.
So
you're a witness
you're
kid.
Allow me
you
to,
want the license to be able to do what you want to do.
Pent up 18-year-old.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So unless you're going to let me do that,
right,
without getting married.
Got some frustrations here, Mom. This needs to go.
So, yeah, we got married. I was 19, she was 18. And, I mean, there was already red flags, There was red flags before that popped up. And she even kind of made me start thinking before we were married, too. She said something to me once. She was like, well, I'm not really sure if I want to be a witness my entire life, Ethan. And then I had to choose quick. Like, am I going to agree with her or am I going to double down? So I doubled down. I had to. I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
It caught me off guard. I doubled down and I said, well, I don't know if we can be together then. She was like, okay, well, for you then, But
yeah.
We won't talk about this or whatever. And I mean, that long story short, I'm out. And last I heard, she's still in.
I think so.
So,
yeah.
Okay, I guess, whatever. But
there's been a lot of weird things with both her and her mom and
yeah. So I mean,
which we don't. Obviously.
Oh no, we can get into it a little bit because I mean that was definitely later on fortified me in myself, like that I was an okay individual because after we can get there, but ultimately we got divorced. Clearly, and her not long after, her parents split up. I mean, they had been together for 20 years, 25 years with multiple kids and young kids even. And
yeah, actually, I bet they were pushing 30 years, honestly, because her older sister was mid to late 20s.
Yeah, that family was so dysfunctional. So dysfunctional. Yeah. And I realized later on I had a pattern that I followed, But I'm not going to dog on him too hard. I mean, her older brother was just a peach. One of the nicest guys. So I don't want to dog on him too hard. But Yeah, so we got married. I was 19, she was 18. And within, a year, started turning sour. Because we were young. I mean, I could sit here and say, well, she was a bitch. And she was. But I'm not going to blame her for all that either. I mean, we were both figuring out what the hell our lives had in store. Here I'm trying to be a good witness, and I'm hating every second of it. But I can't admit that because I already doubled down. I already told her, I'm going to be a witness for the rest of my life. And she's flaky, sometimes doesn't come home, so there's obviously things there that I'm like, wow, And abusive, she was abusive, And if I was too, I don't think, I'm physically never. I would never be abusive physically. But if I was emotionally abusive, it was probably in retaliation. But who knows? I could have been emotionally abusive. So we just didn't work out.
Well, there's not self-awareness there. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I can tell you she said terrible things to me. Made me feel like shit. But since I am an honest person and I'd like to stick to my word, it was like, well, I made a commitment already. And that's kind of how I felt about the baptism thing. Like, even though I'm not really into this, man, like, I already made a commitment.
You'll see it through.
I'll see it through. I'll stick to my guns. Like, I have to. What if a man doesn't have his word? If a person doesn't have their word, what good are you? And so it started crumbling, and it was hard. It was rough. That's your first real relationship.
Right.
So you're going through a lot of emotions. I'm going through not really believing the life I'm living. My wife at the time was starting to leave and change into a person I didn't know, and now I'm stuck. I'm married. I can't.
Well, because you can't get divorced.
I can't get divorced because
of the rules.
I'm pretty sure she didn't cheat on me. So I was like, I couldn't prove it at least. So it's like, I can't get divorced. I can't leave because I'll lose my entire support structure. So all this stuff just started coming down on me, man. But no one had any answers. So when this stuff started coming down, and she was, I think we just decided to split up. I was a wreck. And it wasn't just for that reason. it was just so many things. And I remember talking to two elders. And they're like, well, what do you want from us? And I was just like, keep in mind, one of these elders is like literally my second dad. It's my one best friend's father. What do you mean? What do I want from you? Give me guidance. Like, give me something that I can do to fix this, to fix everything, to just help me along. All they could do was read from the Bible. That's all they could do. They just kept reading scriptures. And none of them made any sense. And it's like, during that was like one of my first elders meetings. During that elders meeting, I watched my heroes become human. And that was a huge turning point. So, if my mom ever hears this or something, the reason I was so depressed during that time, so ungodly depressed, was not just because of Jackie. I was losing my religion. I already am, bud. I was losing my religion. I was losing my wife. I was going to probably and eventually lose my friends, my family. So I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so give me something.
Yeah, I left. I left Hutchinson. Came down to Cato. And I was just kind of a shell for a while. I was a shell, and I filled the shell. I filled the void with booze and drugs. And it was not like I was trying, hold on, let me back up a little bit. I was suicidal. I definitely was suicidal. I was hospitalized because we were pretty sure, if my parents weren't around, I wouldn't be here that night. That one specific night, I wouldn't be here. So I was hospitalized for a night and stuff. And even after that, I'd be driving. Sometimes I'd just be driving my Impala and I'd just floor it. And then, but I mean, I would do that regardless. But I would just take my hands.
Yeah, it's
off.
like a release.
Yeah, but I'd just take my hands off the wheel. I'd be like, oh,
Whatever happens, happens.
yeah. And I'm obviously I'm fine.
You made it?
Yeah, I'm still here. So the thoughts of suicide faded relatively quickly. I think I had spent time surrounding myself with individuals at work, regardless, of if they were good people or not. And it's kind of irrelevant because it still was. They still gave me perspective. Like just normal people that have been through stuff before and terrible stuff sometimes. And I've always been kind of a soft-looking individual, from what I've heard. So people
The world
open up.
needs sissies too.
Yeah. People open up to me and share things. That made me feel better. And even my witness friends by this point were pretty much with me there on the fence.
Sure.
Yeah, whether they knew it or not. And they were. So, those thoughts faded quick. I got into partying and drugs. And it wasn't necessarily to fuck myself. Half of it was to fuck myself up. I had an instance with a guy that I worked with at Runnings. And people would kind of joke about the fact that he had a whole year that he didn't remember. And they'd be like, wow, that's crazy. That guy really partied. I was like, wow, he's cool. Type thing. And I was like, well, if that works, this whole last 5 years has
let
been
me
a
get
shit
some of
show. So, I'm just going to forget it. So I definitely delved in. But the other half of that was, I just wanted to experience. All these things, I had been lied to so much at that point. And I was like, what else is a lie? And so, first opportunity that I had to smoke weed, I smoked weed. Which, I mean, I tried a lot of other drugs, but I do still smoke weed. And I'll probably smoke until I'm dead, illegal or not. But there was something weird, because in high school, my mom and my sister got this all the time. But in high school and growing up, people always thought I was a stoner. Always thought I was a stoner. First impressions was I was a druggie stoner. The eyes don't help, but the demeanor also doesn't help. And I never understood why. So, Mr. came down one day.
Oh, that guy.
After I'd been, I got into drinking and stuff like that. I mean, by this point I was a seasoned
I've
professional.
never heard this story. I'm interested.
I was a seasoned professional in the drinking field, and came down, and we knew that he smoked some weed and stuff. He comes down with a whole 12-inch sub, fully loaded, smashes the thing in 5 minutes, man, and not even 5 minutes goes by, and he goes, God, I am hungry. So
It's a little peckish.
yeah. So, Joe, he's like, yeah, well, let's just go get some food or whatever. And he kind of looked at me, because him and I had discussions in the past. I knew that Joe had smoked and stuff, and he knew I was interested. So, we went to go get some more food. And, bust out a bowl while we're driving around. And I was like, yeah, I'll take a hit of that. Nothing has clicked harder in my life. Because before that, I was on Prozac for depression and Ambien because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep with shit. That's so scary, man. I mean, you're taking a pill that it's the size of a goddamn sesame seed, and it knocks you the fuck out in 15 minutes max. And if you don't go to sleep, you're tripping balls. That's weird. That I'm like, I'm allowed to take that, but so I I smoked this weed and I got baked, and like a different Ethan came out. Someone that I was super familiar with but didn't know. And it just made sense all of a sudden. Like, oh, this is why these kids are always calling me a stoner, and it flowed. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that weed is a cure. I'm not.
Everyone's experience is different.
But for me, it was like I slept good that night. I was okay. The stress had dwindled.
You didn't die.
I didn't die.
You didn't OD.
I was lied to. I realized it. I'm like, well, this is not what I was told it was. So then I was like, wow, let's see what else is not what I was told it was. When I tried to, I definitely stuck to more like the psychedelics. I didn't get into like heroin and meth and stuff. I knew what boundaries.
You had limits.
I did my research.
You weren't dumb.
I met enough people by that point to know what to shy away from, and so I just I messed around with psychedelics and pills. Prescription pills were so easy to get, but definitely alcohol took a dirty hold, pretty early on.
I do remember you drinking like a lot.
Yeah.
Around that time.
My first. So no. Okay. So now I should talk about. By this point, I had met a lot of fence walking witnesses up in the cities. So I was going up to the cities and going up to Fargo, partying every week. Like I would alternate between the two. I mean, you go to the liquor store, buy $175, $200+ worth of liquor, and it'd be gone the next day. So it's not cheap. You're not sleeping. I'm getting sick all the time, but it was fun. And I remember at this point I was drinking to forget. I did not want anything to do with the last couple of years of my life. It was just too much. Subconsciously. I don't think it was a conscious decision, but... So yeah, I was doing that. And then I met another girl that we kind of hung out for a while. We didn't really do too much, but it was just kind of a fling. But I met her partying, and that's when I realized I had a pattern. Tall, bitchy brunettes.
She fits the bill.
Yeah, tall, bitchy brunettes.
And it's funny because she's actually family of mine by marriage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Right,
We're all related.
Ugh. We'll cut that part out.
We're not that related.
She was decent, but the more I got to know her, and I didn't listen to any of my friends. I mean, with Jackie, it was the same way. My friends were like, really? Well, she's hot. And then, I should have taken the signs. Jackie didn't have any friends, like, the people that she considered her friends, I was better friends with. And I met them through her, And I won't say the same for Ashley. I think Ashley was not on Jackie's level.
No, not at all. She's a good person.
I think she is a good person. I wish her the best. But it definitely...
She's married now. I don't know. Yep. Yeah. Seems to be doing all right.
But there was definitely signs that we would not work. And those signs being most of my friends being like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking? That was the signs. And I'm like, yeah, again, well, she's hot.
Right.
But anyways. Yeah, that didn't last too long and made me more bitter because there was more hypocrisy that I was seeing, and I was just so fed up with it at this point. So after that happened, it was kind of a repeat of Jackie. Definitely smaller, but it was a mixture of all these things. Because now I'm realizing even harder, all this is a sham, man. All these kids up in the cities are doing butt sex and they're doing drugs, they're drinking alcohol. And when they go to meeting on Sunday, like nothing ever happened. And no one asks questions because it's all like their parents that are elders, and the elders are doing the same thing. The moms are doing the same thing. You're not going to convince me that it's not swinger groups out there, man. Like, it's the same thing. And it was so transparent. A damn elder's wife was trying to get me she was trying to help get me hooked up with some chick in a bar. We were downtown.
Elder's wife playing wingman.
Yeah. We were downtown Hudson drinking, man. And we were all drunk because we've been drinking all day, including this kid's parents.
Right.
And she's like,
Because drinking's the only thing you can do as a witness, so
oh yeah.
you're going to
As long
do
as
it
you don't
good.
tell them to get drunk, it's fine. Everyone gets drunk.
You're gonna
just
do
don't
it
talk
big.
about it at the meeting. Yeah, there was this cute girl that walked into the bar, and we made eye contact. The cliche, whatever bar shit. And I think I may have made some remarks or whatever, and it was just me and drinking. It was great company, so I was like, well, all right, let's have a beer and chit chat. And we were like, I remember we were gazing out across the dance floor, and that same girl, just one of those things like only girls notice, like looks at you and then looks away. And goes, did you see that? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, she wants you to go talk to her. I go, okay. I mean, that didn't go anywhere. Her mom was right. That girl's mom was right there. It was really weird. So that didn't go anywhere. But the point of the story is, an elder's wife is helping me try and grab tail at a bar. What the fuck? And by this time,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember one time we were out eating at Polly Eyes and still in our dress clothes. We took the speaker out. My family, the speaker, are all out, and me and are sitting at the end together. And he knew I drank. This might have been after my first elders meeting, which I'll go back to about, but it was 25-cent pitchers
Okay.
of beer. So him and I split like 3.5 pitchers. We were feeling good. I was tuned up, so I know he was tuned. And he was getting loud, dude, in front of people, other elders, and no one was saying anything.
Right. As long as you can stay upright and you're not puking,
Yeah.
witnesses won't say a thing.
Yeah. And I'm just like, this is so not me, man. Like, I'm drunk right now. And I don't care if you know that. But the thing is, if you know that, now I'm in trouble. It just kept building up. Kept building up. So, let's see, how did I get to I don't even remember how I got to my first elders meeting, man. Or not, like, I remember how I got there, but I don't remember the points leading up to it even. Because, we'll just say, I was successful at forgetting a few years. I definitely was successful. And after Ash came to, I fell back into that little hole, and I lived off of Guinness for an entire week. I did not eat. I didn't drink anything else. I drank Guinness. And surprisingly, I was fine, dude.
That's pretty heavy for a week.
Yeah, it was a week. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of.
Right. No.
But it was impressive at how good I felt. Like, I was like, wow, let's don't do it. But
Right.
that's
Well, I mean,
weird.
numb is at that point. That's what you wanted.
It was numb. Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember my dad. My dad knew something was up. I had moved back in with him at the time due to some other issues, not through my fault of my own, but they knew I was drinking a lot, and he just asked me one day, which I do respect this too. I mean, once I hit a certain age and I moved out and I did all my stuff, once I did have to like live with my parents again, my dad was pretty good to me. He understood that I had to do. He knew I was coherent enough to do what I had to do, and he knew I'd be.
He knew you were just getting by.
Yes.
He understood.
Yeah. So I remember him asking me, he's like, I'm not trying to dig. Your life is your own, but are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm alright. I'm just going through something, Like, me and broke up. Or not even really broke up. We didn't really date. I don't know. It was a weird situation. It was Jade up dating, by far. Yeah, it was Jade up dating. And we kind of went our separate ways. And he's like, okay, I didn't know that. So, you're going to be alright? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I gotta do some things to get this out of my system. And he's like, I get it. And he's like, overall, with this, because we hadn't talked too much about, this is, let's say I moved down here when I was 20, and by this time I was probably 23, 24, late 22, 23 probably. And I was like, Dad, if I'm being honest with you, I barely remember the last 2-3 years. And he goes, good.
They sucked.
Not what I was expecting.
Right.
But definitely appreciated. Like,
Sure.
Thank you.
It's every once in a while, even though, even if he is the stereotypical elder dad, like you said, it's like every once in a while there's still that little bit of humanity that just squeaks through, man.
Yeah, he didn't get there until
crazy.
I started getting old enough to call him out.
And it takes time. Yeah.
But he did get there. You're right. Yes, he absolutely did. He does have very humanitarian aspects to him. Absolutely. But yeah, it was just funny. Good, he said. And so, man, I'm really drawing a blank though. I think it was just kind of I was partying and I didn't care. I didn't care to hide it. So everyone knew I was doing what I was doing.
Well, at that point, it was like, right or wrong, again, like you said, at that point it was working. And it's like, this is what I'm doing, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. And so I think that's kind of what led up. I was going to North Cato for originally, but I think I only made like 3 meetings when I was going to North Cato. Oh! It came out that we had gone to like a strip club, I believe. Yeah, I think somehow they caught wind of that or something like that. And so, so they, like the North Cato, I remember they tried to talk to me. I got a call from one of our other relatives, your brother-in-law. He called me and he's like, "Hey, Ethan, it's a beep." And I was like, "Oh, what's up, bud?" And keep in mind, I love him. He was super nice to me all the time.
Yep.
So I had no problems with him. And then he's like, "Hey, I was just wondering how you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, I'm great." And I wasn't lying. Because, I was doing a lot of things that you probably shouldn't do. And I was abusing a lot of things. But for the first time in my life, I actually felt like I had control. Like, I was okay.
Right. Yeah.
I was genuinely
you were, for the most part, doing things on your terms.
Yes. And I'm great, man. It's like, oh, okay, well, I was just wondering, if you ever wanted to get together and, have a conversation. At that time, I didn't really realize that he was trying to get me to come to an elders meeting.
Yeah, he's fishing for information.
Yeah. That didn't catch on right away. And I was like, no, nah.
Right.
No, and then,
it's that witness double speak that it's like, just come out with it.
No, yeah, I just was like, oh, no, I don't need to talk. I'm fine. And I didn't really realize, like, because there was a long pause after that, and then he was like, oh, okay. And then that was kind of the end of it until I switched to Mankato. And then, inevitably, I got pulled into a meeting or talked to by one of the elders, and they're like, "Hey, we were wondering if you would like to sit down, have a talk with us." And if I remember right, my dad kind of advised that I do that. Again, I just didn't care, so I was like, "Okay, whatever." Okay, so they're like, "How about so and so such and such time?" All right, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I forgot, and they called me, and I was drunk. I was drunk at home because my parents had a party going on.
Right.
I was
like when you're supposed to be at the meeting, you're at home drinking.
Yeah. I was definitely late. So no, I was late because I still went. So I went to my first elders meeting drunk, dude. And I'm like, there's no. I can handle myself. I can I'm pretty.
You're
good
still
at,
functional.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at bringing up a facade. They're not going to know I'm drunk. But I guarantee you they smelled the whiskey on my breath, man. Why wouldn't they?
Right.
So they knew I was drunk. So being a little buzzed, I did not hold back. I wasn't, at that point, I wasn't like apostate, or I hadn't delved into anything. I was just pissed, and I didn't care what they thought about what I was doing. I really didn't. So any question they asked me, I told them what they wanted to hear, and then some. You know? Because I didn't care. I figured I was going to get disfellowshipped. I remember they asking you all the inappropriate questions, and yeah, I told them, yeah, I went to a strip club, and they're like, was it with other witnesses? And at the time, I was bitter at the witness that I was there with. So like, yep, who's this person? It was Mike. Like, fuck that guy, man.
Right. Which now,
yeah,
he's
no,
a guy.
whatever.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, no, we're fine now. But we squashed that. So I told them, yeah, strip clubs. I mean, I've been drinking, I've been doing drugs, I've had sex, I've done this and that. I told them everything that should have gotten me disfellowshipped. And then they asked me, what kind of drugs have you done? And I started listing them off. And they're writing every single one down. The one that really weirded me out was like, they're like, you had sex, how many times did you have sex? I was like, oh, one time. They don't need to know everything. And I'm like, one time. Who was it with? I'm like, no one you know, which that's true. But they wouldn't take my word for it, and they just kept digging. And I'm like, dude, I remember looking at him. I'm like, dude, it was somebody from a party. Like, I don't know.
Right.
You know, like,
right.
Why are you digging this
random
hard? It started getting really weird, and this is my first experience with an elder, or like in an elder's meeting. So I'm just like, why are you asking me these odd things? Like, you don't need to know that stuff. You know that I committed fornication. That's it. That's it. That's
right. Do what you got to do with that information.
Yes. I don't care. Yeah. So that, then obviously we had a judicial committee after that. But at the judicial committee, I was not intoxicated.
You remembered that one?
Yes, I was a good boy and a little more respectful. But they had every reason to disfellowship me, and I got publicly reproved. Don't know why.
Which for anyone listening that isn't familiar with the way judicial committees work within Jehovah's Witnesses, essentially, if you go into a judicial committee, you have one of three outcomes.
Well,
you are
privately or publicly, or
Well, yeah. So you're going to either be disfellowshipped,
yeah,
or like if you disassociated, that would be. But that's not really a committee. But essentially, you are either going to be disassociated or disfellowshipped, rather, which means again you were kicked out, and now everyone is going to shun you, or like Ethan just mentioned, you'll be reproved, and that can be either privately or publicly. Privately, they're just going to quote unquote encourage you, and they're going to read some scriptures and
run the soundboard.
Yeah, and you'll take some of your privileges away.
Why isn't Ethan walking around with mics anymore?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even though it's private, people know, because they're not going to see you doing all of the mics and doing the sound and the things that you did. Or the other one is publicly reproved, in which they will make a public announcement, which is what you got.
And then people come up and be weird to you then.
Yeah.
It's like the baptism.
Like, you almost get people that come up to you that are weird, that are like, hey, we still love, you're a great guy, and they're trying to encourage you, but it's just
I still
awkward.
didn't feel bad for anything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have been a little more respectful, but I did not feel bad for anything I had done. And literally right after they said amen at that meeting, I felt a shoulder on my, or I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned around, and it was, and like, even his eyes were like watering a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck's this now? Like, I don't know him that well. And he goes, my brother and his wife got publicly reproved, and I just want to let you know it's going to be okay if you ever need anyone to talk to. I mean, it was nice of him.
It was a nice gesture, for sure.
It was nice, but it's like, in my mind at the time, I'm like, what the fuck? Leave me alone. But it was kind of him, and I mean, I don't hold any.
Right,
again,
that goes back to like we've said, we don't hold no animosity.
Any of these people that we're talking about, honestly, Jehovah's Witnesses in general, no hostility, unless you gave me a reason to be hostile towards you. I mean, then yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with
but it's just kind of weird, But him and I actually had a couple nice moments after that and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it would be fun to talk with him again. I would love it.
I think they're in Virginia.
Nah.
Yeah.
The town or the state?
The state.
Oh, really?
Or maybe North Carolina.
Does his wife still work at Caribou Coffee?
She does not. She was...
Ooh.
It was so weird, too. No, she had, like, there was a big going-away party for her and everything when she left. It was always weird. She was one that, like, even as a pioneer, I found odd. Like, she was very invested, like, in her job. And, like, she would go on business trips and stuff like that just didn't really... It didn't really match with what you would have expected from your stereotypical pioneer couple and, wife of a pioneer wife of a pioneer elder. Like, it's...
Well, because a lot of times they're kind of jobless. Or if they,
right.
if they have a job, they're window cleaning.
Right, they're doing...
post-construction cleaning.
Yep. They're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Because, they moved out of town and she still worked a Caribou Coffee job. 45 minute to an hour drive whatever. No, that was a oddity. But, so, publicly reproved and did not change my ways. Got more secret for a little bit with them. I think I made more meetings. I did make more meetings.
Kind of appearances.
But I grew stubble on my chin. And I heard people telling other people, like, because I did have some decent friends, and the people I was acquainted with were all right, so they'd tell me things that they'd hear, like, I heard people are calling you a drug dealer, man. And I was like, what in the fuck? Or, he's just growing that on his chin because he wants to show his worldliness. And, like, again, back to the beards, like, it took a whole new meaning as an adult, the beards and tattoos. And
I had when they had like a watchtower like 4 years ago that kind of alluded to, well, yeah, you might be able to have a beard. And I started growing one actually after that on the advice of an elder in my congregation.
And what happened?
And what happened is I had people in that congregation that literally would not speak to me.
Yeah.
There's one sister in particular right now. She would not. She would see me coming down she would turn the other way. And that happened for about a year until I finally shaved it. My wife complained enough, and I said, okay, fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the meeting that night, and this sister that had avoided me would not speak to me for an entire year. She came up to me after the meeting, and she grabbed me by the chin, and she said, oh, I knew you were smarter than that. I was so pissed. I said,
you weren't a woman. God damn it.
I'm like, I'm not an intelligent person because I have a beard. I just about started regrowing it that night. I almost said, hell with this. I'm just going to continue growing my beard. But
you should have just grown
a nice
really long mustache. Obnoxiously long mustache.
Just never trim it.
Yeah, because that's fine.
Right.
You can have the biggest mustache you want.
Right. I did have a handlebar for a while.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. That looked pretty sweet. Dude.
It was a decent handlebar, honestly.
Yeah, if you ever do end up shaving, you got to do the handlebar for a little bit.
Yeah.
I will. I mean, I'm probably never going to shave it off, but
I don't have any intentions of shaving. No. Yeah. Right.
It didn't start as a statement, but it is now.
Yeah. And even my hair, like I have no intentions of ever cutting my hair short again. Honest. Well, you and I even talked about it. We're getting off on a tangent, but it happens. I'm actually intending to grow mine out. I'm going to donate it. I have people complaining to me right now, like, oh, why don't you get your hair cut? Yeah. I've got my mom making fun of me, lighthearted, but still just, she's giving me shit because my hair's growing long.
Yeah.
So,
one of the reasons I grew my hair out was because my dad, one time, I can't remember, I think I mentioned it, and my mom was like, oh, that looked terrible. And my dad got a little defensive. And he goes, well, no. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, my brother Aaron grew his hair out, and he had beautiful hair. So that was one of the reasons. Okay. I was like, I should at some point, just to see. And then actually, one of like a buddy of mine died in just an accident at like 25 or whatever, and he had the most gorgeous long blonde hair. Rest in peace, Kirk. That was the turning point. I'm like, I'm gonna just grow it out. I got to, and at least in honor of Kirk.
Yeah,
I think I've done him justice.
Right?
I think I've done well.
You got a good mane going there.
Anyways, I digress. Yeah, so no, I mean I didn't really change any of my ways, and I still was definitely headstrong. But then I had to study with an elder. Thankfully, the elder they gave me does not have a good reputation at all. But I think the fact that we were really similar helped, because I mean he was headstrong and I was quick to tell him to shut up. So it was just good. It was a good banter. It was like nice, dialogue.
You kept each other on your toes.
Yeah, we kept each other in check. Yeah, yeah. But I remember another one of the really big turning points. Like, I mean, I know I've said that a lot already, but I asked him about tattoos. I'm like, well, so why can't I? Like, let's just get down to it. Why can't I have tattoos? Because I'd heard the beard story growing up all the time. It made no sense. And he's like, well, it says right here. I don't even remember the scripture. You shall not mark your body for a... I'm pretty sure it specifies, though, for a dead person.
I can't remember if it's specifically... It's like, it's earlier in context.
But I didn't...
yeah, it's related to...
But it says, you shall not mark your body. And that's what they point out, right? And he read it, and he, looked at me, he's like, okay. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, look at the one. I think it's right before that.
It's literally the previous verse. I know where you're going.
The exact one. Right before that scripture, it says, you shall not shave the extremities of your beard or the sides of your head. And I before I even asked him, what's up with that, he's like, yeah.
Yeah, which is it?
I won. Yeah. I just won against an elder. I'm like, according to this scripture, if you want to preach this to me, you should have a beard right now. I should have a beard right now. And he's just kind of like, yeah, you're right. He said that. He's like, you're right. I'm gonna have to go back and do some research.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah. So the next week
which means he's not going to, and he's just gonna shave for the next meeting. Did he?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So no, we reconvened the next week, and he was like, I mean, this is all the because he was very honest with me after that. Like, he was just kind of like, listen, man, we're kind of figuring this out now together, which is fucked up because this man is in control of other people's lives and well-being, and he's on the level with some heathen such as myself. But he's like, this is what I could find, and it basically just boils down to, you don't want to stumble your brother, which is the dumbest argument.
Especially when there's other verses in the Bible that say, followers of mine will not be stumbled.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
which is it?
And it's like,
sorry,
no, but that's right. I mean, and you're going to tell me that if I have a tattoo somewhere and somebody finds out I have a tattoo, and that's too much for them to handle, and now they can't follow the religion anymore. They're like, nope, that guy's got a tattoo. What do you expect me to do? I'm leaving. What the fuck? No one's gonna get along with that guy anyways. I mean, that's right. A weak.
He's obviously already a dick.
Yeah. Who cares? So he pretty much just told me that, yeah, you can get him. Just don't be like flashing your shit everywhere. So my first tattoo I was still in this. I got my whole left rib done. I didn't know it was gonna be that big, and in the worst spot that I've heard you can get tattoos. It's not. Just fun fact, it's not the worst spot you can get a tattoo.
Coincidentally, I almost stopped off at a tattoo shop earlier today. That's where I was actually going on my left rib.
I mean, it's kind of painful, but yeah, it's out of the way. And if you have multiple tattoos, I would make the argument that the healing process is far worse. The itching is so bad, bud, than getting the actual tattoo. Because it doesn't go away and you can't scratch it. But anyways, I got a tattoo. And then, yeah, from there, it was just pretty much downhill. I was done. I still, at that point, had done no apostate research. And I didn't do that until a while after I was disfellowshipped, actually. I continued partying. I still have a lot of the same friends, and some of those friends are still witnesses. I mean, they keep... I've got one friend that's probably been disfellowshipped 5 times.
It's made the rounds.
Just keeps going back. I don't know why, but whatever. If he's happy doing that, that's fine. So yeah, I continued partying, and then I had it was was feeling down, and my grandma had a heart attack on my mom's side, and there's some other stuff going on. So kind of just that I was in a not a good state. It was one of the weekends I was up in the cities, and I just went up there anyways because friends make you feel better, and they did, you know. But I got blackout drunk. I got lit. And woke up and, well, I didn't even wake up. I mean, I remember fragments of it, but one of our mutual friends who kind of, her and I, whatever, definitely consensual, but fooled around. And just didn't think anything of it and just continued about my day. And I think that was a Friday night. Went about my day on Saturday. I think she was at work, so me and our other friends were off doing other stuff. And then saw her that Sunday because I was still up there, and she had gone to meeting. And just kind of interesting tidbit, she had just gotten reinstated. Like 3 months, maybe, I think. She was reinstated for at that point. So we get back, and it's me and Schwalbe sitting out in the living room, and she comes in and she's like tearing up, and Schwalbe looks at me and I'm like, fuck. And she's like, can we talk? And Schwalbe just looks at me and I'm like, yeah. So Schwalbe dips, and I started talking, and I just looked at her, and she's like, I told the elders. I'm like, God damn it. I did not want to deal with this.
You
right
thought you'd mostly
my grandma
dodged
just
that.
had a heart attack, man. I got all this other shit going on. Now I have to play chess. What's my next move? What do? Do I just ignore it? Or do I confess? And I was like, I was weighing between the two, and then I was like, wait a second. Me and just found common ground. I mean, this isn't long after the tattoo and all that kind of conversation. I'm like, we just found common ground, so maybe if I just go to him and be like, listen, man, maybe
there's something there.
Maybe it was I was pulling at strings. I know I was, but it was kind of like maybe he can kind of help me out, use his elderly sway. He could not, but he was very kind to me, and he met with me one-on-one, so he knew it was somewhat serious, because on the phone I was like, I got to talk to you. He's like, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm fine, but I'm pretty sure I said I fucked up. Because even though I didn't believe, I still had felt the pressure. I knew what was in store. I had been publicly reproved.
Right, from that angle.
Yeah, I knew what was coming. And I'm like, I fucked up. He's like, okay, where do you want to meet? When? And I think it was later that day. Yeah, it was later that day, because I was going to leave anyways to go back home. It was like Sunday. I had to work the next day. So we met at a bar. Yeah, we had beer and had some apps and chit-chatted, and he's like, well, Ethan, he's like, Ethan, I love you, but, you might be screwed. I was like, yeah, I know.
Right. Understood.
But it was cool that him and I could have that.
For sure. And to his credit, I've always had great experiences with him. He is a good guy.
Yeah. So it was fun, to a certain extent, even though I knew it. But it was nice to have a good exchange with somebody you kind of respected, who was, he was in my first meeting, I believe. And if I remember right, he had absolved himself from this next one.
It's like he took a step back, said like, oh, too close to the situation.
Yeah, my dad actually told me. My dad was he did tell me some elder stuff. And that was one of the things that he told me. He's like, it's be part of it. He's too biased. So like, that's fine. oh, that leads me to, but I said one thing. I know I told, and I think I told my dad, I said, I don't care, because I knew it was going to judicial. I knew that was going to judicial, even though I had to have the meeting beforehand. But I said, I do not want on my judicial committee. Our families, the Lundholms and the have bad blood. Do not want him on there. I had the elders meeting quick with Armand, actually, and then one other. I think Tom was in the elders meeting quick. I think it was him. But when it came to the judicial, I walk in and there's goddamn.
Of course there is.
My trust is gone at that point. As soon as I saw his dumb face, man, it's gone. It's gone. Now I seriously do not care. Even though I didn't care, though, it was still rough, you know? I mean, I got disfellowshipped. I remember talking to my dad beforehand, and even he was just kind of like, yeah, this is your second offense, man. Like, it's probably going to happen. So I knew it was coming, but it still hit hard. I listened to change, because, you know, like, you have to go in, plead your case, and then you're excused from the room, and then they deliberate, pray over it, and then call you back in. So during that time, I think I was out in the car for a good 45 minutes to an hour, probably, while they deliberated, and I listened to the song Change by Blind Melon on repeat. You know, I don't know, it was definitely stressful, and I needed to focus on one thing. But that was a good thing. I mean, it was just, I knew I was getting kicked out, and I knew it was time to change. Because I didn't, like, this is going to be a whole different ball game, man. Like, this is different. I can branch out.
Yeah, you're starting to understand that you have options in life now, and you go, oh.
and like, I mean, but to be fair, for every kind of positive thought I had, it's just a waterfall of negative at the same time. I mean, because it's still reality that you're going to lose mom and dad. You're going to lose your sister. And my sister and I were really good friends. We got along so well. I miss her to this day. But it was setting in. And then, yeah, they disfellowship. They call me back in. They're like, yeah, we got to disfellowship. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, okay. Pretty much that was it. And then I
sounds good. Shake hands. Walk away.
Mentally, completely out after that. I waited the 6 months. I made most of the meetings. I maybe only missed. Granted, I was still buzzed at a couple of them. Dude, there was this one time I was disfellowshipped and I sat all the way in the back, and I was drinking vodka orange soda because I'm classy beforehand. And I get to the hall, and I'm fine. I'm coherent and stuff. And I should mention, I forgot about this. Before I got disfellowshipped, it was really soon before, actually, I noticed just how much I was drinking. Which is a testament to how stressed out I was in the religion. Because I've never drank this much ever again, and I don't plan on it because I notice it now. But, I mean, Wild Turkey Rare Breed, at the time, it might be a little higher. I think it's 114 now, but at the time it was 111 proof. I would drink half a bottle of that Wild Turkey Rare Breed bourbon a night.
Yeah.
And I was not hungover the next day. I mean, I was fine. And then just one time, I was like, ooh, that's not good. That's probably really not good. So I just stopped. It wasn't a crutch. I just stopped drinking.
Right.
Took like a week off or whatever.
Sure.
And then just went back to normal drinking habits. So, but it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy getting a little buzzed up.
Right.
Especially if I have to go to a place, an establishment, that knows my entire family, me very well, and I have to watch them peek over their shoulders the whole time. And then whisper into the person's ear that's sitting next to them. It's stressful, man.
Well,
so I'm sitting there.
Same point as me. I mean, for the last 3 years, I mean, I don't know that I've ever actually admitted this publicly to other people, but for the last probably 3 years, I think that I was still attending. Of that time, I probably smoked before every meeting.
Yeah.
I would probably smoke a bowl before every meeting, and it was the only way that I could deal with the stress and the anxiety of being at that meeting.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, I was drinking a lot regardless.
Again, I don't advocate.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But, I mean, I was drinking a lot regardless because I was playing catch up at that point. I had started playing catch up to get into a normal life because, you know, I knew I kept heading down the road. If I kept heading down the road I was going to be kicked out sooner or later. But yeah, no, so, I mean, I had a good grasp by this point on what I could drink and what I couldn't, and before meetings was stressful. So I would drink. I would drink a little bit. And I remember sitting in the back, though, and, like, this lady came in a little later than I did. No bags, no nothing. She's probably, like, mid-50s, 60-something. And sits down beside me. She's like, "Hey, do you have a songbook?" And when she said that, dude, it was just like a blast of vodka just punched me right in the face. And we had this mutual respect immediately because I whispered hard back. I'm like, "No, yeah, I got one. You can share with me." So like she knew I was drunk. I knew she was drunk. It was one of the best. It was probably one of my best memories in the Kingdom Hall.
Fair enough.
You know, I mean, well, whatever.
You gotta find a silver lining somewhere.
Yeah, I know. Life is what it is. I mean, you just kind of ride with it. And yeah, you know, remember some of the good stuff, but you gotta remember bad stuff too, because it's made you who you are. But so just to get back into because I mean, after that, it's pretty much what my life is now. I tried to go back for 6 months. You know, I wrote the letter and everything, and I reconvened with them, and they denied me. Even though I was doing really well, actually. I was surprised, but not that surprised, I guess. So then, and this whole time I still had all those witness friends that were leaving anyways, and it was like, I'll be alright. I'll be alright. And so
you had a network to fall back on.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like I kind of foresaw the inevitable, and I started contacting people that I hadn't talked to in years that I knew were disfellowshipped. One of those being my Uncle Jonathan. And probably he was the most significant one that I reached out to, because I think he gave me, you know, he's got his own things that he does, but he's had a lot of time outside, and he's in the situation that I am now, you know, and I had a couple other uncles too that I reached out to, and they've been, to this day, are significant helps in my life. Very good, solid people, you know, to talk to and kind of, I don't know, talk about the same thing with them.
Well, it's, you know, like, have that shared experience.
I mean, yeah.
It's great to have somebody that knows what you've been through and what you're going through.
Yeah, and Jonathan was one of the first ones, though, that was like, "Listen, man, you're going to get disfellowshipped." He's just straight up with me. He's like, "You're going to. But, you know, we're here." So we knew it was going to be okay.
Well, here, you talked about the elder that was on your judicial committee and the bad blood between those. That's because, right, it's his ex-father-in-law.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I don't think he knew that. I don't know if I ever told him that he was on my second judicial committee. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I reached out, because as rough as it was and still is, I have decent people around me now that can relate, you know, and I have for a while. And I mean, yeah, I left, did the 6-month thing, and I told myself I could get back in. I'm like, I can get back in. I can do this for Mom and Dad. I straight up told Mom and Dad that too. I'm like, "Listen, I don't believe any of this shit. This is not for me. But if I have to get back for you guys, I can do that." I lied.
Yeah.
I lied.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was lying at the time. I was genuine. I really thought I could get back, but the biggest turning point, man, was I met a girl named Samantha, but we call her Pan. And was weird. I didn't have any intention. We met on Tinder. I had no intentions of dating this girl. I was dealing with my own shit. Man, that's why. It was nothing that was wrong with her. I had all this stuff going on in my head, and I did not want to bring somebody else into that, you know. I needed to figure a lot of stuff out before I could worry about someone else. And for some reason, man, she liked me.
Well,
you know, I mean, and at this point, I was living with a lot of those other fence walking witnesses, and we had parties pretty regularly at the apartments we were living at, and she would just come and hang out with us to parties and everything like that, and that's how we just kind of got to talking. And I realized the day that I realized she really liked me, I had to like make a decision. Because if I start dating a worldly girl and I'm disfellowshipped and I'm trying to get back for my family, the people I love, that's gonna send me
that's not gonna work
back.
well.
So basically, I have to weigh: is this girl that I've known for, I think we've known each other for almost a year at that point, is this girl, does she mean more to me than my mother and father? Well, I guess, you know, being a go with the flow person, listening to my gut, yeah. Apparently she did.
right?
Apparently she did, because I said, yeah, let's fucking try it. Why not? Because I told her, I was like, listen, I have all these things going on. And I was very candid. Very open. I told her everything. She knew the whole story. And I'm like, let's just see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen? But, and then obviously everyone started making jokes. I listened to my friends this time, because unlike my ladies previous, this was a short blonde. Not that I've seen her natural hair color, but a short blonde.
I don't know what her natural hair color is.
And my friends were saying, dude, she's cool. Like,
she is.
You guys get along well. So I actually listened to him, and it just seemed right, and it was easy, and probably, it sounds bad, but not. It's probably like one of the least amount of efforts I've ever put anything into. It just flowed, man. Just worked. And I was still trying to get back though, because I still got mom and dad and Olivia, even though like distant family was kind of like whatever. I still had mom and dad and Olivia, and so I talked to her, and she agreed to come to meetings with me for a little bit there. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I remember sitting there, and some misogynistic stuff was getting preached from up on stage, and I remember looking at her, and she wasn't looking at me, didn't know I was looking at her, and she just, the look of disgust, just unable to understand what the hell was going on, like so evident on her face. I was like, this is a cult. This is a cult. And then after that, I had to swallow some pretty big pills. Not physically, metaphorically. Right. Like I had to, I really had to reevaluate. I had to reevaluate what I was doing. And that was hard. That was probably the hardest thing I've done. And that's when there's just one day, man, because you text your mom and dad, and the whole transition to being disfellowship, no matter how old you are, like all of a sudden, relationship that you had your entire life is just kind of fucked up. Not necessarily completely gone, because it's like a transition period where both of you are trying to, not both, all of you, if you have both your parents, you and your parents are trying to figure out what to do from here. And we started veering, and I had to accept that, you know? I mean, I remember my dad, after a while, was just kind of he just showed up to my house one time and was just crying. You know, you don't see, and I don't know about a lot of people, but my dad didn't cry. I saw my dad cry when his grandma died. That was the last time.
Sure.
So it was emotional. But I didn't cry, dude. I was just kind of man, this is what it is. And I was kind of grow up. I'm the one that's having to deal with the fact that what I've known is wrong. I'm the one that's being kicked out by you guys. You don't get to be more sad than me. I got a little mad. I'm like, no, screw you. Do you think this is easy for me? You know?
Right.
Like, it wasn't fair.
That's one thing that it's hit me forever, too, is if you had to make a choice, if I was going to be selfish, I wouldn't choose this. Like,
No,
why the hell would I do that?
Not at all. It's just something that you can't, like what we were talking about, and why I warned you before you watched that stuff that I told you about. Like, man, you are going to have to deal with some stuff because you can't unknow. Like, because by this time the stress and the depression was coming back, and I was like, I need something. I need to find someone that's telling me the decision I'm making is right. Because I knew it was right, but I needed someone smarter than me to tell me that you're doing okay. You're
Right.
on the right track. And that person turned out to be John Cedars. Because this is, I mean, shit. I think his oldest video at the time.
Yeah.
was
This
like
was around, what,
maybe a year
2014,
old,
15?
not even.
No.
No. I got this fellowship. When did I-
2016?
Probably 2015. Probably early 2015. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, man, I gotta. So yeah, I looked up, and I had to weed through. Like I was like, I've seen some stuff come up on YouTube before. I need to find somebody that's legit, not just kind of complaining. I needed
didn't want
facts.
to find the stereotypical
I needed
apostate.
reasons. I needed somebody that's had spent time, creating their own foundation, because I obviously was not bright enough to do that on my own, and then to preach that foundation to me a little bit, just so I knew where I stand. And yeah, once I started watching that stuff, I mean, it was still hard. It was still stressful, but it was a lot easier. It was like Jehovah took the burden from my shoulders, man, dude.
Yep.
It was nice. It was so nice. And then after that, I didn't care anymore, but in a better way. It was
Yeah, for sure. You're more accepting.
Okay. It was more of a, I'm fine, I'm okay. You know, my thoughts of suicide had been long gone, and I could see the person that I had the potential to be, you know, and I saw the people around me were getting better. They were becoming better people, honest people, like true friends, and I didn't take that for granted. I mean, I don't talk to them all anymore, but I am grateful for what they helped me through.
Right.
And I am also grateful that I do have some family that's not witnesses, you know, that I could reach out to, and I'm still I shouldn't say I'm very close with them. I want to be very close with them, but because of the religion, I lost 24 years with them.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. It was the same with reconnecting with my sister. I mean, granted, at that point I lost like 5 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my brother, that was from... Well, I moved here in 2001, and he was at my wedding in 2002. I think I went and visited him in the hospital. He had surgery about a year later, and I saw my niece when she was like a couple months old. I remember seeing her in the hospital and then visiting him. But other than that, I don't think I saw him until like 2013. So yeah, I mean, we lost like 12 years, 10, 12 years,
still,
something like that.
man, 12 years. You can do so many things in 12 years, you know. But I mean, so I have 3 uncles that are out and have been for a long time, and I'm so grateful for them. So grateful. And then my girlfriend, who is Pam, we've been together 5 years this year, so 5.5 years by now, and still going strong. I mean, that chick has gotten me. I still have had my moments. I mean, I still have depression. It's still extremely relevant.
Right, for sure.
But, you know, Pan's a doll.
She is. She's really great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'd like to think of myself as a stable person, but that pretty much ends there. I like to think of myself as a stable person. I have quirks. I have my issues, and
Sure.
I never have gone to therapy or anything like that. So I mean, the state of mind I'm in, I've worked at by myself and with the people that I've surrounded myself with.
Right.
So I'm glad that I had the people that I've had, and even her family. Just a shout out to them, quick. I mean, they know my whole story too, and they've been more than supportive, and they've helped us out in more ways than I can ever repay.
Right.
Unfortunately, so.
Well, that's one of the things that we learn as we leave, like you said. The people on the outside are nothing like what we were told they were.
Absolutely not.
So,
No.
yeah,
No.
really, people are beautiful.
Yeah, as rough as it was. Well, it's like I said last night, man. You can't have the yin without the yang. You can't have the good without the bad. You have to go. I mean,
You
I'm
have to have
I'm
a
firm
benchmark to
believer
weigh
that
against.
Some people just, you kind of have to go through something traumatic to start to really appreciate the fact that you have such a decent situation now.
Right.
You know, or you will have such a decent situation, you know. I mean, it's not going to be like that forever. And with that decent situation, it might get worse at some point. I am aware of that. But for now, I'm sitting pretty. Buddy.
Ride it out. Absolutely.
Yeah. I have very few complaints. They're there. But I have very few complaints. So I do not regret leaving. In fact, I would do it again. Would I take it all back? No. No, I don't think so. I am happy with who I am. I think I'm overwhelmingly happy with who I am now. I still have issues and I'll work at them, but at least I can acknowledge those issues and I can consciously work at them.
Right.
You know, I can do it however I want. I can do whatever I want to do. I have a freedom that I've never experienced. I know I've been out for 6-ish years, but I've been alive for 30.
Right. You got time to make up for it.
Yes. I mean,
But you're in a good spot. So, yeah.
I think I'm in a good spot. Mom and dad, relationship, pretty much non-existent. Sister, Olivia, I have not. I would like to talk to her at any point, but she has not talked to me for 4 years, probably. I haven't heard anything. Hopefully she's doing fine. Olivia, if you ever come past this, love you.
I saw her a
Hit me
couple
up.
months ago.
Tyler saw you a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I heard you're alive.
I saw her at a funeral.
Doing
So,
okay.
yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that. I miss you. But the rest of the family, it was kind of big. I still talk to my grandma on the Williams side a little bit. It doesn't help. She's 93. You know, so I kind of.
She can't move
That's
quick.
a story for
She can't
different
get away.
time. Talk about having regrets on your deathbed. Anyways, the one home side, not too much. It was just the 3 uncles on the one home side that are out that I talked to, and then the rest are fairly in.
Yeah.
The only one I really miss is Bill.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. But, other than that, I mean, I still have friends inside, and I do my best to be there for them if they choose to reach out. I've had a couple reach out recently. Tyler, you were just kind of a fluke. That was just a weird thing. And it was kind of weird. This last one was just kind of weird. I mean, it was another person I'd grown up with. Me and her had been friends since we were born. And I don't know, she just randomly hit me up because I was the only one she really felt comfortable hitting up in the witnesses. Because I'm pretty open. I don't have my friends and all my posts blocked on Facebook or anything. And partly for that reason, I want people to see what I'm up to. I remember my mom told me one time, when I first started celebrating Halloween and all that shit, and I posted on this. She's like, people can see the things that you're posting. I'm like, yeah, no, I did that on purpose.
Right.
I'm not ashamed of who I am becoming. So because of that, a couple of friends have reached out and reconnections, and it's fun. And then I can be there for them, as they're going through their hard times. Whether or not they choose to leave or not, I don't care. That's not my business. But if they need that person there that's can relate and has been through the same thing, I'm more than willing to be that person. I like being that person.
Right.
And I hope in turn, if they did choose to leave, that they would be that person as well.
Right.
You gotta pay it forward.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We're pretty much caught up.
Yeah.
Now it's just this.
Yeah. I mean, here we are.
I got into rock climbing. I friggin' make some shit out of wood sometimes, and skateboard.
We got some good decorations going on.
Yeah. Podcasting, throwing noodles at walls lately, man. Just throwing noodles.
We could go throw some knives.
We could throw knives. We could throw knives
Throw
in
some
the
axes.
garage, and gotta have stuff to do. Keep you occupied.
Absolutely.
And the ADD kicks in, man. The one other thing my mom always did teach me, it's kind of funny because I hear all these stories about witnesses and being addicted to pills. Honestly, I did not see that. I'm not saying that's not true. I believe that that's true. I wasn't aware of it much, and my mom specifically told me, she's like, "Oh, you have ADD." And I was like, "Well, can I get prescribed stuff for it?" And she goes, "No, you're gonna learn to deal with it." Because at the time it was Ritalin. If you go into a doctor and they're like, "Yeah, you have ADD," what's Ritalin? Maybe you just get sleepy and just numb them. Just numb them. Fucking numb them. She never put me on pills. Never put me on any of that stuff, and taught me how to just shut up when I should shut up, which probably was about half an hour ago. And at least I'm aware of it though. But I mean, she taught me how to control that stuff, and I appreciate. That's one of the biggest things I appreciate that my mom helped me with. It was just learning to be me. I swear to God, man, I had the wrong parents for if they were trying to raise somebody to stand the witnesses. Well, I guess they did it with Olivia for now, but they did a terrible fucking job, especially my mom. And thank you, Mom.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. For sure.
So, yep. Now we're here.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's your story.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, there we go.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
Just keep on keeping on.
That's right.
Do our best to reach out and make new friends and
be there for other people.
Yeah,
and that's, that's why we're doing this.
And it's not necessarily that we're doing something like this so we have people come, "Oh, yeah, you guys can help me." Well, I mean, I might have a hard time too. I might need to reach out to somebody that can relate.
For sure.
It's just it's about starting a community. And I know there's podcasters out there that have done it already, and we've talked to them, and they've done such a great job. We're pretty much just seeing if we have anything to bring to the table.
Right.
It's it.
Contributing our piece.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
What else do we got to do?
For sure. And like I said, it helps us, and if it helps somebody else, bonus.
Yeah.
So.
One person, man.
Yep.
It's fine with me.
Right on. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for listening again. We'll be back with another one. Take care, guys.
Love you. Holy shit, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening to all that nonsense. Well, it was a long time, but...
Yeah. No, it was a good time. We really appreciate you guys
I appreciate it
listening. So
absolutely.
we will be back with more. And again, we hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned, and we appreciate you guys helping us find paradise.
Thank you.
Take care.